In this module, we will add the ability to log in and register users to the app. First, we will come to grips with initializing and using state. Unlike prop, state is for data that can change. Understanding how to use state is important if you plan to make use of data from a remote source. Then we will learn how to use async storage. This provides us with persistent storage on the device. We will also learn how to use the text input and touchable highlight components. A login and register page will also be added to the app. These pages will be all that is needed to register users. Then we will be adding a custom header component. This component will override the default header. It will also be the way users log in. Finally, we will also add a menu component. This will allow you to traverse between all the pages in the app. After this module is finished, this is how the app will look. We have now added a custom header and menu. Also, tapping on the header will allow you to log on. In the next clip, we will get started by learning to work with state. In this module, we are going to add a custom header and menu to the app. Ultimately, the app will use an authentication system to log in and register users. Before users can log in, they will first need to create an account. To that end, we will first create a registration page. In the Views folder, create a file named register.js. Previously in our components, we did not need to import anything from vanilla React. This is because we have been using functional components. This time, however, we will start with an import for React. Use state as a React hook. This allows us to make use of state in our projects. As I mentioned before, state is used for data that may change. In this case, we will be using state to capture user input. After that, we import style sheet, text, view, text input, touchable highlight, and alert from React Native. After the imports, we can add the register screen component. This time we are passing in the navigation prop. Any component that is included in routing has access to this prop. We are using it here so we can access the methods that it provides. The first thing we will do in the component is initialize the state variables. The array contains the variable name, followed by the function we will use to update the state variable. In this case, the setUsername method will update the username variable. The useState method sets the initial value of the variable, but subsequent updates will use the setUsername function. We will also initialize a state variable for the password. And then finally, we will initialize state for the password confirmation. All these variables have been initialized with an empty string. Then we add the cancel register function. The form we are going to build will have a button to cancel the registration. This function will run when the cancel button is tapped. First, we alert the user that the registration has been canceled. This is more for development and can be removed in a production build of the app. When the user cancels registration, we will navigate back to the home screen. We will use the navigation prop for this. The navigate method allows you to navigate between routes. You do this by providing the name of the route that you want to navigate to. Now that we have added the cancel register function, in the next clip, we will add the function to register users. In this clip, we will add the function that will register a new account. We will save this new account using React Native's version of local storage called async storage. This was originally a part of React Native, but now it is a separate package that you need to install. In order to install this package, navigate to your project folder in a terminal window. Once you are in the project folder, we can use the npm install command. This will install the async storage package to our project. After we install async storage, let's go back to the register.js file. The first thing we will do is add the import for async storage. After that, we can add the register account method. The first thing we will add to this function is a conditional that checks for the username. This checks if the username variable is empty. If it is, an alert will prompt the user to enter one. Then we check if the passwords match. We aren't verifying if the user has entered a password, just checking if they match. As a result, they can technically enter an empty password. For development purposes, this is not a big deal. Also, the way the login form will be set up, users will not be able to log in with an empty password. The final condition is matched when something is entered in the username field and the passwords match. Here's where we are going to use async storage. The getItem method will grab data from async storage. We are doing this to check if a user has already been created with the same username. The getItem method will return the result or any errors. Inside the getItem method, we will add another conditional. As we know, the getItem method will return the value stored in the provided key. If the username exists, it will return the value. If the result is not null, we can be sure the username exists. If this is the case, we will alert the user so they can choose another username. In the final conditional is where we will actually add the account. This command will run if the username does not already exist. The async storage set item method is used to save data. The command takes a key followed by the value for that key. To simplify things, we will save the password with the username as the key. The user is alerted that the account has been created. Now that we've added the function to register users, in the next clip, we will begin to add the form that will be used for registration. Now that we have added the function that we will use to register accounts, we can add the form. First, we add the return statement. We will add a view component to wrap the form. After that, we add a text component. This will serve as a heading to let users know this is where they register accounts. The next thing we will add is the text input component. If you take a look at the documentation for this component, we can see the props that are available to use. There are many to consider, but the two that we will look at now are onChange text and value. Add the text input to the register.js file. The first prop we add to the text input will be the style prop. Then we add the onChange text prop. This prop takes a function that is called when the contents of the text input changes. The function that we use is setUsername, which updates the username state variable. The value prop is used for the value to show inside the text input. OnChange text will update anytime a user types in the input. This will update the value that is displayed in the text input. Underneath the text input, we add a text component to serve as a label for the input. We could have also added some placeholder text in the input, but a label is enough for our purposes. Then we add the text input for the password. This will be similar to the first text input. This time, the function used in the onChange text prop is setPassword, and the value will be the password state variable. This text input will also use the secure text entry prop. This prop will obscure what is entered into this text input. This is consistent with the behavior of forms and is used to protect sensitive information such as a password. Setting this prop to true will conceal the password that is entered. Then add a text component that says enter password. Since what is entered into the password text input will be obscured, we need to confirm the password. This ensures the correct password is entered. This text input will be almost identical to the previous text input. The onChange text prop will use the setPasswordConfirm function, and the value prop will use the password confirm state variable. Since this is also used for the password, we will set secure text entry to true. After that, we can add a text component that reads confirm password. Now that we have added our text inputs, in the next clip, we will add the buttons that will execute the cancel register and register account functions. In the last clip, we added the form that we will use to create an account. The last thing we need to add are the buttons that will cancel out the form or register the user. When it comes to buttons, we have a few different choices in React Native. Of course, we have the basic button component. This is easy to set up but offers little customization. I prefer to create my own custom button using the touchable highlight component. This button will lower opacity when tapped and let an underlay color show through. You can also use the touchable opacity component, which decreases the opacity of the element when tapped, or the touchable without feedback component, which provides no feedback when tapped. If we go back to the register.js file, we can add the touchable highlight to the form. We add two props to the touchable highlight. The onPress prop specifies what function to run when the component is tapped. This will execute the register account function. The underlay color is the color that will show through when the component is tapped. The touchable highlight must have one child component, so we will wrap a text component. This will display the text component inside the touchable highlight. After that, we add the button to cancel the registration. This will execute the cancel register function. The underlay color is the same as the other touchable highlight. Then we add the text component that says cancel. In other components, we set up styles that have had a minimal effect. With this component, we will need the styles to ensure the form is readable. First, in the styles for the container, we set flex to 1. In the case of a container element, this determines how much space the child elements take up. Then we use align items to center everything in the form. We also add some padding to the top and bottom. Then in the styles for the heading, we set the font size to 20 and the font weight to bold. After that, we add the styles for the inputs. We set the width to 80%. After that, we add a margin at the top. This provides some space between the inputs and the text labels in the form. Then we set a border width of 1. This ensures that you can see the inputs. If not, the inputs would have no clear outline. Then we set the height to 45 and the font size to 16. And then finally, we set the font color. Then in the styles for the buttons, we add some padding and margins. We also set the font size, background color, width, and height. The last thing we will do with the button styles is center the text using the text align prop. Then finally, we can add the styles for the labels. First, we add some padding to the bottom. Again, this is to provide some spacing between the other components in the form. Then we set the font size to 16 and the font weight to bold. The last thing we need to do in this file is export the register screen component. Go ahead and save your project. Now that your registration page is finished, in the next clip, we will add the login page. Now that we have our registration page, in this clip, we will get started with the login page. Create a file named login.js in the views folder. The first thing we will do is import useState from React. After that, we import style sheet, text, view, text input, touchable highlight, and alert from React Native. Then the last import we add will be for async storage. After the imports, we can add the login screen component. We also pass the navigation prop to this component. Then we will initialize some state variables. This time we have the username variable and the password variable. Since we are logging on, we don't need the confirmation password. After the state variables, we add the cancel login function. When a user cancels, we will alert the user and navigate to the home page. Then we add the create account function. This will allow users to navigate to the registration page. Then finally, we add the login user function. First, we have a conditional that checks if something has been entered for the username. If this input is empty, we will alert the user. We will use another conditional to check if the password has been entered. We will also alert the user if no password has been entered. This is why users will not be able to log in with a blank password, even if they created one. Then in the else conditional, we will attempt to log the user in. This will be the choice if both the username and password are filled in. First, we will use the getItem method. This time we are grabbing the user logged in key from async storage. This value will be set as part of the login sequence. The first thing we will check is if the result is not equal to none. When a user logs out, user logged in will be set to none. If this is not set to none, it is safe to assume that someone is already logged in. If that is the case, we will alert the user and navigate to the home page. Now, the way the app is set up, it will technically be impossible to log in while another user is logged in. Even though this is the case, we will account for another user being logged in. If the user logged in is set to none, we can log the user in. We use the getItem method to grab the account with the username. Remember, we set the key for the account to the username, and the value will be the password. We will use a conditional to make sure the return result is not null. The result would only be null if the username does not exist. If we get to this point, the username has returned an account. Then we can use a nested conditional to check if the result matches the password that was entered. If it does not match, the user will be alerted that the password is incorrect. If the password does match, we use the setItem method. We set user logged in to the username. Then we alert the user and navigate to the home page. Then we add the conditional that applies when the username is null. This means the account does not exist, and we inform the user of this with an alert. Now that we have added all the functions that we will need for this component, in the next clip, we will finish the login page. In this clip, we will finish up the login page. The first thing we will add is the view component. We will use this to wrap the login page. Inside the view component, the first thing we add is a text component that says login. Then we add a text input. The onChangeText prop will use the setUsername function, while the value uses the username variable. After that, we add another text component that says enter username. After that, we add the text input component for the password. The onChangeText prop uses the setPassword function. The value prop uses the password state variable, and we also use the secure text entry prop to obscure the password. After that, we add a text component that says enter password. After the password input, we can add the touchable highlight. This will be the same as the buttons we added to the registration form. The only difference will be the function that is run when the button is tapped. In this case, the login user function will be used. Then we add the text component that is wrapped by the touchable highlight. The second touchable highlight we add will use the cancel login function. This touchable highlight will wrap a text component that says cancel. The final touchable highlight we add will use the create account function. This touchable highlight will wrap a text component that says create account. The last thing we need to do is apply some styles to this component. The styles for the container are similar to the register page. We set flex to 1, align items to the center, and apply padding to the top and bottom. The heading has a font size of 20 and a font weight set to bold. The input's width will be set to 80%. We also set the top margin, border width, height, font size, and font color. Then in the styles for the buttons, we set the padding, margin, font size, background color, width, height, and text align is set to center. And then finally in the label styles, we set the bottom padding, font size, and font weight. Now these styles are for the most part identical to the register page. Even though this is the case, we still needed to go over all of them to ensure they are correct. The last thing we need to do in this file is export the component. After that, save your project. Now that the login page is complete, in the next clip, we will add the custom header. In this clip, we will add a custom header to our app. By default, a simple header is included on any page that is routed to. This header is just a text component. This is where the route name is displayed by default. The header in our app will do more than announce the route we have navigated to. Remember when I mentioned that a user will not be able to log on while another user is logged on? That is because of how the header will work. The header will toggle between a user being logged in or no user being logged in. When the user is logged in, the username will be displayed in the header. When no one is logged in, a message will prompt the user to tap the header to log in. In the components folder, add a file named header.js. This time, in addition to use state, we will import the use effect hook. We will take a look at what this hook does in a moment. After that, we import style sheet, text, view, image, and alert from React Native. Then after that, we import async storage. We will also import the use navigation hook from React Navigation. Then in the global header component, we will first initialize a couple of state variables. Remember that state is used for data that may change. In this case, we are using these variables to track whether or not a user is logged in. We will initialize this with a Boolean set to false. Then we add a state variable which tracks the user that is logged in. After that, we initialize the use navigation hook. As I mentioned before, components that are included in routing have access to the navigation prop. In the case of the header, this prop is not available. In order to navigate to another route, we need this prop. The use navigation hook makes this prop available to any component, regardless if it's a routable page. Then we add the toggle user function. First, the conditional will check if the logged in variable is true. If it is, that means the user is logged in. If that is the case, the setItem method is used to set the user logged in to none in async storage. Remember, the login component checks the user logged in value from async storage. This is one of the places that value is set. Once we set the user logged in to none, we set the logged in state variable to false. We also set the logged in user to an empty string. The else statement allows this to perform as a toggle. If there is no user logged in, we will navigate to the login page. If the user does not have an account, they will be able to create one from this page. Then we need to add the use effect hook. This allows you to perform side effects after your component renders. Certain operations, such as grabbing data from a remote source, may cause errors when rendering your component. To avoid this, we can execute these operations with the use effect hook. First, we use the async storage getItem method to grab the user that is logged in. If the result is equal to none, then we will just log this to the console. If the result is null, this is the first time the app has been run. This will initialize the user logged in value to none. If the user logged in value is not none or null, then we will set is logged in to true. We will also set the logged in user to the result that is returned from async storage. Now that we have added the functions we need, in the next clip, we will finish the header component and add our new pages to routing. In this clip, we will finish up the custom header component and add it to the app. In the header.js file, the next thing we will add is a variable. This conditional is checking if the logged in state is true. If it is, the display variable will contain the username of the user that is logged in. If the isLoggedIn variable is false, the message tap to log in will be stored in the display variable. After that, we will wrap the header in a view component. First, we add an image component. The image we are using has been stored in the img folder, which is inside the components folder. Then we add a text component. The text component can also make use of the onPress prop. When the text component is tapped, the toggle user function will be executed. This text component wraps the display variable. As we know, this is bound to a conditional. As a result, either the current user or the message tapped to log in will be displayed. Then finally, we add the styles for this component. In the styles for the view component that wraps the header, we will first set the background color. We are also doing something we haven't done before in setting the flex direction. The default way to lay out elements is in a column. This alters that and will lay out the elements in a row. This will cause the image and text elements to be laid out side by side. Then in the styles for the image, we use the layout prop align self. This allows the element to align itself in the container. In this case, we use flex start, which is the left-hand side. Then we set the height and width. And then finally, we set flex to 1. Then in the styles for the text component, we add text align set to right. Then we use text align vertical to center the text vertically. Then we set the color of the text and add a flex of 1. The last thing we will add is some padding on the right. This makes sure the text is not flush with the right side of the screen. The last thing we will do in this file is export the global header component. Once we do that, we need to add the login, register, and header components to the app. In order to do that, go to the app.js file. The first thing we need to do in this file is import the register screen component, the login screen component, and the global header component. Once we have the imports, we can add the route for the login component. The name of the route will be login, and the component that will be rendered for this route is the login screen. As a default, any component that is routed to will have the text component header. The title will be the name of the route. We don't want to display a header, so we override that behavior using the header shown option. I am doing this because I do not want to display the title of the route on the page. Bear in mind that the header will also include a back button by default. The choices in our forums will allow users to navigate away from the pages, so we don't need a header. Keep this in mind if you decide to remove the header. After that, we add the register route. This uses the register screen component and also has the header disabled. Now for the header component, we will not add it to a route. Instead, we add it as an option to the home route. Using the header option, we can pass a component that will be used as a header. In this case, we are using the global header that we created for this purpose. After that, save your project. In the next clip, we will demo the app and take a look at what we have built. Now that we have added the login and register pages, we can take a look at the app. We don't have a menu set up yet, but the header will allow us to navigate between the new pages. Once we start the app, we will verify that we can navigate to the login page. After that, we will create an account, and once the account is created, then we can log in. After login, we will verify that the username is displayed in the header. Open up Android Studio and launch the Virtual Device Manager. Then launch your emulator. Once the emulator is up and running, navigate to the project folder in a terminal window. First, start the Metro bundler. Once that starts, open a second terminal window while leaving Metro running. Navigate to the project folder in the second terminal window. Here's where you will use the Run Android command. This will launch the app on your emulator. After a moment, the app should start. The custom header is now displayed with the logo on the left. Tap to log in should be displayed on the right. This is how we toggle the users. Tap the button to log in. You should now see the login screen. We will test that it works once we create an account. Before we do that, however, let's check the cancel button. This should take you back to the home page and display an alert that says login canceled. We can remove this alert in the production version of the app, but for now it helps us understand what the app is doing. Click OK and go back to the login screen. This time, click Create Account. Now it looks like we have a problem with the border on the confirm password input. Let's go back to the register page. If we look, I accidentally added a S to the style prop on this input. If I remove this, it fixes the problem. When I save the project, it will be updated. First, attempt to register an account with nothing entered. You should be prompted to enter a username. Go ahead and enter a username. After entering a username, we can actually use a blank password. When you attempt to log in, this will not work since it does not accept a blank password. For testing, let's make sure to add a password, but don't enter anything in confirm password. Then try to register the account. You should get the message that the passwords don't match. After that, enter the correct password so they match and register the account. The alert should inform you of the username of the account that was created. You should also navigate back to the home page. After the account is created, we can log in. Tap the header to log in. First, try with no password. You should be prompted to enter a password. This is why blank passwords will not work. After that, enter the correct password but use an incorrect username. This time, the alert will inform you that an account for that username does not exist. Finally, enter the correct username and password. When you log in, you should navigate to the home page and be alerted with the username that logged in. The username should now be displayed in the header. In order to log out, you simply have to tap the username. Now that we have checked out the app, in the next clip, we will add a menu. In the last clip, we used the header to navigate to the other pages. This is work for the login and register pages, but we also have the About page that we created. In the Components folder, add a file named menu.js. The first thing we will do in this file is import Style Sheet, View, Touchable Opacity, Text, and Alert from React Native. Since this component will not have its own route, we will also import the Use Navigation hook. This will allow the menu to navigate between components. After that, we can add the menu component. The first thing we will do in the menu component is initialize the navigation prop with the Use Navigation hook. After that, we will wrap the menu in a View component. The menu will have a few rows of buttons, and we will wrap each row in a View component. Remember that View components can have other View components as children. Then we add a touchable opacity for the lessons. These will be video lessons that users will be able to watch. This page has not yet been created, so this is a placeholder button. As a result, we will use the login page to navigate to until the video page has been created. Then we add a button for the quiz. This is also a placeholder button as this page has not been created yet. Then we will add another row. This time the style object uses an array of styles. This allows me to add some additional styles to the row that will not be shared by other rows. Then we add a button for the blog. After that, we add a button for the registration page. Since this page does exist, this button will navigate to the register route. Then finally, we will add one more row. This bottom row will only have one button. The styles for this button will be a bit different. This is the About Global Mantics button and will navigate to the About route. The first style we add is for the container that wraps the menu. We have a flex of 2. Remember, the hero component is set to 6. If we add the menu to the home component, each of these components will take up the amount of space in proportion to the flex setting. You will see how this works when we demo the app. We also set the background color to the same color as the header. Then in the bottom row styles, we set flex to 1. This relates to how much space the row will take up in the menu container. We also have align self set to flex in. Since the flex direction is set to column by default, this will line up the item at the end of the column. Justified content will cause any items to be centered vertically. Then in the bottom button styles, we set the background color, width, and height. We also add some padding to the right of the button. In the styles for the button text, we set the color and font size. And in the button row, we set flex to 1. We also set the flex direction to row. This will cause the buttons in this row to be laid out side by side. Align item center will center the buttons vertically in the row. In the button styles, we set the background color, height, and width. We also set align items to center even though we did this in the button row. Understand that this style applies to the touchable opacity buttons. This means there is a child text component in the touchable opacity. Align items works on the children of the component that uses the style. In this case, it will apply to the horizontal alignment of the button text. The last style that we add will be for the border. This style is included with the second button row. This will add a bottom border only to this row. After that, the last thing we need to do is export the menu component. Once you do that, let's go to the home.js file. The first thing we need to do is import the menu component. After that, we simply have to add the menu component underneath the hero component. Once you do that, save your project. In the next clip, we will start up the app and test the menu that we just added. In this clip, we're going to launch the app and preview the menu that we just added. After we start the app up, we will verify the menu displays correctly. We will also make sure the links to the register and about pages work. The first thing we need to do is launch Android Studio. Launch the Virtual Device Manager and start your emulator. After the emulator is up, navigate to your project in a terminal. Then run the React Native Start command. After the Metro Bundler starts, open a second terminal window while letting the Metro Bundler continue to run. Navigate to the project folder in this second terminal window. After using the Run Android command, the app should start after a few moments. Once the app starts, the menu should be displayed at the bottom. The hero and menu components should take up the space respective of their flex settings. If you tap the About Globomantic button, you should navigate to the About page. Since we didn't disable the header, the title we set is still visible. Also note the Back button that is added by default. We can use this to navigate back to the home page. We can also navigate to the Register page from here. If you click the Register link, you will be able to register a new account. If you click Cancel, we can go back to the home page. I want to take a moment to show you the effect of the various styles that we added. If we go back to the menu.js file, I will remove Align Item Center from the button row. You do not have to make this change, and I just want you to see the effects of this style. If you remove this and save, you will notice that the buttons are now flush with the top edge of the view component that contains them. If I add Align Item Center back and save, they are now centered vertically. Now remove Align Item Center from the button styles and save. Now the buttons are lined up at the start of their flex direction. Having the button center looks much better, so I will add Align Item Center back to the button styles. If you made any changes to the styles of your menu, make sure to change them back and save your project. Coming up in the next module, we will add the blog feature.